All right, we're going to look at writing exponential functions given tables and graphs. All right, so we've got some information here. The exponential function g represented in the table can be written as g of x equals a times b to the power of x. So remember, g of x or f of x equals a times b to the power of x. Remember, a is always the very first term in our sequence. It's always going to be kind of aka our y-intercept. All right, and then b is the multiplication pattern. Specifically looking at the y value. So it's a lot of stuff about y's, specifically y values, that multiplication pattern, right? Because again, if we're looking at the pattern for the x value, it's always going to be adding 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't concern us too much. And as always, we got a color code. I don't make the rules here. I do, but A is red and B is going to be blue, following what we've learned in class. All right, A and B. So the very first term, y-intercept, some things we know about y-intercept too is that it's when x equals 0 is when we'll find our y-intercept, right? Along the y-axis, x is always 0. So in this example, we're given a table and we're like, that's kind of interesting. X is 0 here and y is 12. And we're like, Mrs. A, is it really that simple? Yes, it is. So g of x equals blank times blank to the power of x. The a value is going to be just that 12. That's it. 12 times what? What is the pattern? How are we jumping from 12 to 2? Remember, if it's not super obvious, we can take the second number divided by the first number. So we can take 2 divided by 12 and simplify, right? Could factor out, whoa, oh my gosh. I don't know what's happening. We can factor out a 2 from top and bottom. We'll get 1/6, right? Which is true. It looks like we're dividing 6. That's how we got that. But remember, for exponential functions, we can't just say, oh yeah, divide by 6. We have to always write it as we're multiplying by a fraction. So we're multiplying by 1/6. So that's where this really comes in handy. The second number divided by the first. That way it's setting it up already for you as a fraction. If you feel like that's kind of confusing, you can just see, okay, we're dividing by 6 and I already know that's 1/6. That's fine. You can make that jump, but second number divided by first number is going to be golden, especially if we have some fractions and decimals and it gets a little more complex. All right, so let's try plugging that in. 12 times 1/6 x, 12 times 1/6 to the power, hold on. I gotta put these in parentheses. That's right. To the power, Fun times. Let me do this again. There we go. We gotta get that first. All right, 1/6. We live and learn. All good. 12 times 1/6 x. Yep, let's check. Yay, we did it. All right, we did it. We'll go to the next question. I want to do one with a graph. So let me jump here. Here we go. All right, let's see what this looks like when we're given a graph. And again, our goal is we want to write out this equation, same idea as before. So a times bx, same stuff. We know that a is going to be the very first term in the sequence, aka our, not x, it's going to be our y-intercept. And we know that b is the multiplication pattern, specifically looking at the y values for b. All right, and our goal is we want to write this out. We want to know what is the equation, what is a and what is b to the power of x. I'll get the parentheses all ready for us so we don't make a mistake again. I don't think it will let me draw. It will let me draw on the graph. Very cool. So our y-intercept, right, where it intercepts, where it's crossing over the y-axis, that's going to be at 9, positive 9. And then our multiplication pattern, this is where it can get kind of weird, but we do see there are 2 coordinates here. So we can kind of just do bunny hops, rise over run, and see what's the difference between the y values, right? Because we're just focusing on y. So looking between 3 and 9, that's going to be 6, but if we weren't sure, we could bunny hop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The difference is 6, right? And looking at this graph too, it's decreasing, right? Because we read our graphs from left to right, it's dropping down, it's decreasing. So we know that the difference is 6. This is interesting, it's the same one. It's going to be, we're dividing by 6, it's going to be 1/6. If we needed, like, if we're really like, if we prefer the XY table, which honestly for finding multiplication pattern, like I'm not gonna throw shade on this. Like it's, I don't know. I kind of want to double check too, just to make sure, right? We've got our y-intercept is 9, multiplication pattern, right? We take the second number divided by the first. Let's check. Okay. So second, it was 3, right? Let me double check. 1, 3, and 0, 9. Yep. Divide by 3, divide by 3. I'm glad we checked. That's going to be 1/3. Whew. Okay. So glad we checked. All right. So note to self. We don't want to do the bunny hop method because Mrs. A is clearly gone bananas here. We're going to go ahead and plug that in. 1/3. 1/3. All right. So we'll just do a little XY table. So we are just comparing the coordinates. So 3 and 9. The reason why it wouldn't be we're adding, I'm correcting my mistake. Mistakes are part of the learning process. We celebrate them. It's all good when they happen. We would be doing rise over run if it was linear, but we're like, Mrs. A, it's not linear. This is an exponential, where remember, how we're jumping from number to number is we're multiplying or dividing by some number, right? Our multiplication pattern. So the reason we wouldn't do the bunny hops is because that's if it was a linear function, right, where we're adding and subtracting, and that's the difference, how we're jumping from number to number. That makes more sense. But for here, Mrs. A, we got to remember we're multiplying or dividing. All right, so 9 times 1/3 x. Let's try it out now that we know to the format here. We got to start with that guy, times 1/3, because we're dividing by 3. X, and we check. Hooray, we did it. All right, so I did an example of the table. We did one from the graph. Go ahead and try the remaining problems on your own. Again, I encourage you to pause the video where the work is shown, reference it while you're working out your problems. If you have any questions, you guys know the drill. Email, text, let me know. Good luck. Bye, guys.